7:06. Now we get any action? Make a motion.
I make a motion to convene into open session.
Second by
I'll second.
Bender. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. One absent. At 7:06. 7:06. Okay, action determined in closed session. Got it. Okay, we accept a claim, LW number 1996814, and we accept a claim JJ number 198605. Also for the student petition reinstatement of 07-1920, the decision of the board was to allow reinstatement with the following conditions with no suspendable offenses and to enroll in credit recovery. Okay, Pledge of Allegiance led by Mr. Bender.
Ready? Begin.
Roll call, Dr. Linda Brandts, Dr. Carol Robinson, Jim Bender, and Mario Jackson. Approve agenda. Do I hear a motion?
I make a motion to approve.
Bender,
Second.
second by Brandts. All in favor?
Aye.
And absent. Do we have any comments?
No.
From the public? Board communications. Ms. Carol Robinson.
Thank you for coming. A few of you are diehard people. And I really wanted to say that I would like to get in communication with all the new teachers and try to give them whatever support I can give them. So if you know of anybody that needs support, let me know. And I'm going to get a list and try to make sure that I visit them, and so that's an area of interest of mine, is just supporting the new teachers.
I thank everybody for coming out again, and for all you newspaper, YouTube watchers. Get on out here and support these meetings, even during the summertime. We need these seats filled so we get some input from people. So come on out.
Okay, well, welcome. I want to say that it looks like I'm excited for the school year, the 1920 school year, with Superintendent Gaines. I know she's already started on a few projects and getting things together. And also welcome to Mrs. Akanini, who's the principal of Roseman High School. I know you've been working hard as well, and so I think I think there's a lot of good things going on. Regretfully, I will have to say I am going to be resigning as a board member. I am relocating. I took a job up north in Northern California. So thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure, and I just hopefully, again, the district's in a good place where we can move forward. The budget looks like next year it'll be a better place. I know Mrs. Gaines will be diligently working with the different unions to make sure that contracts are being negotiated up to date, because I know she's very good at those things. So I am confident that this relationship will continue to thrive. So again, thank you.
I'd just like to say thank you all for coming. I appreciate you being here as well. I just want to say that the district is still really working hard and trying to get all the approved curriculum and all the LCAPs and whatever, all the forms that are coming in. We're really working hard on that. So I appreciate that, Ms. Gaines and Ms. Hargis, working hard. And I want to just thank you. Brandts for your service. We really enjoyed this year. And with that said, do we have an RT? Oh, yes.
Is this Dr. Brandt's last board meeting? Okay.
IT report?
Sure, why not? First of all, I want to officially welcome Mrs. Gaines as superintendent. It's the first opportunity I've had to do that for having accepted the post. Appreciate that. And my first meeting with Mrs. Gaines, one-on-one, will be tomorrow. My agenda is too long, and I hope you have one as well, so we can take care of those things. Dr. Brandts, obviously I wasn't prepared for this, but again, thank you. As Mrs. Sanchez said, thank you for your service and your commitment to the students and to the district. It was clear that you were very committed to improving our district. It's unfortunate that you weren't able to continue in that post. Also, welcome to Mrs. Aganini as principal of Roseman High School, and Ms. LaRue as the vice principal of Roseman Elementary. Look forward to meeting those people, and we know I share my opinion way too much, and we'll be happy to do so with those people as needed. A couple of items tonight. First of all, I want to thank Mr. Avanesyans, Mrs. Gaines, the board, and anyone else involved in providing some supply money for the teachers for this year. While it's not a lot of money, $100 per teacher, it is very well received, and we very much appreciate that. My wife, Mrs. Quellman, and I have been out shopping already to Walmart and Staples and Lakeshore Learning. If you've ever been down there in Van Nuys, they have a wonderful supply and good discounts. I've been online to School Specialty using the district's contract pricing. We've already spent together about $350, and this $200 only cuts about half of that. As veteran teachers, she and I don't have to purchase nearly as much as newer teachers. They have a lot more. I've got cupboards full of stuff. They have to buy a lot more, but you know, we appreciate very much the response the district gave and providing a start. And so I don't want that to go unnoticed. What else? So that's the good thing, of course. You would be disappointed if I didn't bring something negative to the board. I try to keep it as positive as possible. Somewhat good is all of the programs that we have seen reinstated. We appreciate that. While we don't have the AF Junior ROTC program anymore, it's been replaced by the California Cadet Corps, which is a similar program. That's nice. The CTE Digital Media Program hasn't been replaced fully or restored fully, but it has been restored to a degree. That's something I continually raised, and we appreciate that. Again, the Cadet Corps being expanded down in the middle school, that's a very good thing. But we need to remember the programs have been cut, and all of those programs seem to be at the elementary schools. Of course, the preschool program, which I know is not funded at all by the state, has been completely cut. The Project Lead the Way program, which has been our science curriculum at the elementary schools, has been completely cut. The Read 180 program, the teaching positions have been cut, and of course those programs are still in place, but they've been thrown upon the shoulders of the regular classroom teachers to continue on with those programs. And of course the elementary PE program, which you've heard me talk about on and on and on again. And again, remember that elementary PE program is not about teacher prep time. That's about providing a quality physical education program for our students, which improves their health, which improves their attendance, and also because the students look forward to that so much, it improves their attendance. So once again, the situation I'm in, being president of an association of a unified school district, is trying to balance secondary issues with elementary issues. And what we see going on here is secondary programs being restored and elementary programs not being restored. All of the opportunities for stipend programs and extracurricular programs and those kinds of things are at the secondary level, and they do not exist at the elementary level. And those teachers feel it, and they talk about it, and they complain about it. We need to balance this as much as possible. And the one way we can balance it is to continue to revisit that opportunity for an elementary PE program at Roseman Elementary and at West Park. So you're going to hear that issue brought up over and over and over again. We still have time to do that if we can fit it within the budget. Thank you very much.
CSEA report?
Not too much to report on. Thank you, Ms. Brandts, for all your dedication to our district. It is a shame to see you go. I saw how much that you did care and how much you really tried to come in and do some hard work. And we appreciate that. It'll be difficult to replace you, that's for sure. With the project Lead the Way, we do still have like all of those materials, and it is very expensive materials. So it is a shame that we're not trying to run that program in any way, because all of that stuff is literally just sitting there collecting dust, and it's been, I think, 2 years now that it's just been sitting there. And I have teachers that express interest in using those materials, but they can't because they're not trained. And because of the high price on those materials, we can't just let them, have at it. So if that was, a program that did come back, that would be absolutely wonderful, along with the PE at the elementaries. On the CSEA side, of course, things are quiet. It's summer. Thank you, board, Ms. Gaines, Hargis, Arik. Thank you, everybody who's working through the summer, keeping us up and running as everybody else, gets vacation and, gets to reset. I hope you all do get some time, with your families and get to reset yourself, and, that way you can come back refreshed and, start this school year on a great foot. So I really look forward to this school year and everything that we're all going to accomplish together.
CBO report.
So, I just want to thank the following people. Stephanie Congleton, Martha Hernandez, Wendy Rooney, and Jeannie Russell. They work in nutrition services. They've been working all summer to run the SEMA summer program and also deliver food to the library when they have the program over there. And from what I've seen, it's been a pretty successful program at the library, a lot of participation. So I just wanted to thank them for working over the summer, making it possible. They're basically, the four of them are producing the meals and delivering them. So.
Do we have a number on how many students working in?
I don't have one off the top of my head. The program is still going at the library.
Is it only at the library?
Right now, yes. Yeah. Well, we had meals served while we were doing credit recovery, ESY, extended school year. But now it's only for the library, and that's 2 days out of the week.
Up until what day are we serving?
I believe next week is the last week of the program.
You can give me a number, just so I know.
Yeah, we'll have that once it's completed. We'll have that information.
Thank you.
And the classes at RHS are finally completed. The renovation is completed.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
The water damage?
Yes, the remediation, and then if you have a chance to take a look at it, it's nice. The counters are all quartz, sinks are new, and it's ready to go.
Okay, good.
Thank you.
Superintendent?
Okay, I have a few things, and I made some notes, so bear with me. I also want to welcome everyone this evening and say thank you for coming out in this heat. Not too bad this evening, but it has been a little bit hot. I want to thank the entire district office team, because each department has really been working hard in anticipation of our August 8th opening. And so I just want to say thank you to each one of them. Our site custodial teams are doing a fantastic job of cleaning and getting each of our sites prepared for the opening of school and bringing back our students. The site admin have been working diligently on master schedules and just making sure that site-specific programs are being, aligned and put back in place to the best of our ability at this time. The grounds and maintenance crews, even though they are only a few, they are working hard to address the facility needs. Many different facility needs out there. There's some fence repairs and lighting in kitchens and different things that they're being trying to address this summer, and as well as the football field needed reseeding, and so that has been done as well. And HR has been hiring teachers and staff as we need them, and we all of our staff has been hired with the exception of 3 special ed openings, and we are interviewing tomorrow, and so we hope to at least fill a couple of those spots tomorrow, leaving us at this point in time only 1 opening. And I'm sure Leanne will talk a little bit about it. Her department has been doing a great job of enrolling our students. We've been talking about the website. Dan and I have extensively this week, and I'd like to make a few changes. I'd like to make it a little bit more engaging and a little bit more user-friendly, easier for our parents to navigate this website. And so Dan is going to be making a few changes, updating some documents that are a little bit outdated. And so he'll be overseeing that project. And I'm very excited. A week from today, Mary Barlow, the Kern County Superintendent, will be visiting us here in Southern Kern. I'm a little nervous, but excited at the same time. We've been informed she'll be here about 2 hours next Wednesday. So I'm really excited to meet her and just get to talk about our wonderful district here. And I also, as you can see here, Southern Kern Unified School District has the chicken from the Antelope Valley School Boards Association. We have the possession of the chicken until September, and all of the funds that we collect go to the scholarship committee. So in case anybody feels like dropping in $0.25 or $1, we'll happily take that for the scholarship. And finally, I'd like to say to Dr. Brandts, Dr. Brandts, you've been, just in my short time here, an amazing board member. I love your questions, and you seem to keep everybody on their toes and remind us why we have this job and why we're here is for the kids. So I wish you the very best on your new job, and you're going to be an amazing superintendent. And so keep in touch, please. That's all I have.
Consent items A through J. Do you have any questions on this? Do I hear a motion?
I make a motion to approve consent items A through J.
Second?
Is that these, when we're talking these vouchers,
Yes.
Yeah, all those vouchers.
is that $600,000 monthly for Southern California Edison?
Eric?
That's the amount.
It's an open PO.
It's just open?
It's supposed to, we charge the monthly billings to that purchase order.
Okay.
It's an estimate, so,
That's not an estimate monthly though, right?
no. That's the estimate for the year.
For the year.
It should be reduced once all of our lights are switched out for LED. But 600,000 is generally what we spend, depending on the weather.
How about the AAA quality services for the hood system, the maintenance? What are they doing for $15,000?
So it's it's a required thing that we have to do every year. They come out and inspect them, and they certify them that they're in working order. And we have to submit that to the county marshal, fire marshal.
Can we get that for 2 years though? That certification for 2 years?
Annually.
Annually? Have we checked anywhere else? I'm having one done right
We-
now, and it's nowhere near that cost.
We had another vendor doing it in the past, and this vendor is a lower cost than the one we used in the past.
We tried some in Lancaster, Fire Ace, and
This AAA has worked with us in the past,
Apparently they have, that's what I'm worried about.
Yeah. They may not be the lowest cost, but the value that they provide.
I mean, if your system is certified, it's certified by anybody. It does, I mean, they have to charge a system when they come in, they have to check it, so.
Right.
I mean, that service is from everybody, they stamp it for the fire marshal. I thought it was approved for 2 years, but if you say 1, fine, but.
Yeah, we do it annually. Last year we had to do it, and there was a lot of sprinkler heads that needed to be replaced. The AAA,
And that's,
and it's deadline sensitive, but AAA, we met with them and we feel like they do a professional job. And the cost is, the difference between costs, it's, I don't want to say negligible, but we could trust that AAA is going to do the right job.
now, we're talking about sprinkler heads in the fire system, suppress system on the hoods only, right?
Right. All of our kitchen heads.
All your kids, we got what, 6,
And that's,
5?
and that's biannually, so twice a year they have to check those, and that's included in this.
Our maintenance guys are on top of this, kid.
Yeah, none of our.
Because there's a huge price difference of what you're paying and I'm paying, and my sprinkler head's been on my system for 15 years and never been changed.
Yeah.
Some of them maybe even longer than that.
So in the past, we were able to get away with more. Now that regulations have been more stringent, now that the fire marshal's enforcing things. If it gets to the point where we're not able to provide them proof of that these things have been certified, they could shut down a kitchen. They could basically enforce the full force of the law and fine us. In the past, they've avoided that, but what we're seeing throughout the county is that that's no longer the case. They have new people on board, and they have more people. They've hired more people to enforce their regulations. So it's something that, in the past wasn't really.
I mean, how long have we been using them? My biggest problem, if we just keep using them and not checking other costs, we just sign things off. I mean, the stamp is, once I get stamped from John's fire extinguisher company, it means the same to me, the fire marshal, as AAA. It's approved by a certified vendor. I mean, if we just keep having them come out every year and not watching their price. I mean, we're talking a huge difference. I can tell you what I'm paying. It's
What are you paying, Mr. Bender?
about $500.
Well, so this is the cost for all of our campuses?
Okay.
Yeah,
I see where
it's
that'd
more
be
than one
12,000.
campus, and they have to be done
It's
twice a
lined
year.
every 2 years.
So, I mean, if you look at the quote, it's,
Did you get other quotes?
we've asked other vendors.
This year?
No, because AAA, they've done it in the past and they know where everything is.
When's the last time a current competitive quote was asked for this service?
I can't recall off the top of my head.
Okay.
That's
I don't
all
know.
that. If we can just check that.
I think it's very valid because with the financial situation we're in, quite honestly, I know I've been at a school site, they come in, they check, they're in and out in 2 hours. I mean, I agree with you, Mr. Bender. It seems like a huge cost. I know sometimes if we have a trustworthy company, that's good, but with our cutting the PE teachers, we could probably use
We could use that money.
an extra 5,000 here and there.
So it's
You know?
470 extinguishers, 10 hoods. and
Okay, so we're not
Yeah.
talking just a
About
hood.
that.
No,
We're talking the fire extinguisher.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
that's pulling them off the walls and
Yes.
checking what
That
they
makes
charge.
better. That makes more sense. I thought you were just talking to fire hoods.
Okay.
That's what you had here, and it's like,
Yeah.
that's extremely high for the fire. But to go throughout and do all the fire extinguishers.
Every-
That makes
every
more
single-
sense.
470 of them.
Okay.
That's annually.
Okay. I agree with that number a little bit better.
So I had a question about the protection software on our systems. It is 19, 20, 21, and 79. There's all these different protection softwares. Why do we have to have a protection software for each piece of software and not just get one for our whole system? I don't see what I'm looking at?
Which one?
On page 12, number 19, 20, and 21, there's content filter renewal, firewall renewal, safety management for Google, and then on number 79 on the next page, antivirus software renewal.
I could probably answer that if you'd like.
Each piece of software plays a different role. There's no one single software that does it. So the firewall is on the hardware side. The content filters at the actual content that people look at on their desktop. There's Gaggle, which monitors all of our Google devices. And that allows the teachers to monitor them as well.
Not with Gaggle. That kind of watches our students,
Right.
make sure that their Google Drives are free of anything obscene or.
So they all play a different role. There's no single solution to, because our network is, we have Google Chromebooks, we have laptops, IBM laptops. It's a large network, so.
Right.
there's-
I
there's
just
no
don't
single
understand
solution.
why, if you pay for software, why don't they give you the protection with it? Then you've got to pay another $15,000 to protect that software that you just paid for? I don't understand.
Yeah.
Explain it to me.
It's a great business model, but if there was a solution where we didn't have to contract with everyone, we would do it, but there's no choice. To protect our network, we have to contract with these companies to provide this software and service.
Okay, I have a question. Sandy's Coin Wash says for maintenance, laundering, and kitchen and child nutrition. What is that for?
They wash all of our kitchen linens, so we don't have to purchase those. Aprons, towels, things like that.
Okay, maintenance. What about the maintenance?
I believe they collect some shirts for maintenance.
So I feel that's an outdated practice. I know many districts did launder maintenance shirt. My own husband worked for Lancaster, and I know probably 10 years ago they put, we're in a budget crisis. I don't think $6,500 to wash our maintenance shirts would be acceptable.
I think that's a typo. They don't wash our maintenance shirts.
So what is it for then? $6,500?
Just kitchens.
Okay, but I've got it says $8,000 for child nutrition and $6,500 for maintenance.
It might be grounds. I think the open PO is just, we don't spend that much. I'll check with Talia, but we do not spend that much on that for maintenance. I know the shirts that they have are old, and some of them don't wear them anymore, just because they have become really old. But really, it's mainly, they do our kitchen stuff, and this is down from, we used to spend $250,000 with Aramark. So this is the lowest cost alternative we could find to providing that service.
So we're talking floor mats, rags. Now, let me ask you another, food service. Just a little bit about it. When my wife worked in it, they were made to get uniforms. A lot of them didn't want it. A lot of the school ladies, cafeteria ladies, picked out and made and designed their own shirts for the school. And they were forced to accept these uniforms. Are they still wearing the uniforms?
No.
Okay.
They wear the school branded shirts, things like that of their choice.
Good.
To get uniforms, it's expensive and it's complicated
Yeah.
in terms of measurements and whatnot.
Yeah. I know a few years ago they were made to start wearing them. They all hated them,
Right.
but they were made to wear.
Yeah. No, they wear mostly school branded school t-shirts.
So this is just for rags and aprons
Right.
and that's per year?
Per year.
$14,500.
Up to.
Because rags, they're cheaper just to replace.
Well, we buy higher quality rags because some of these rags, when you're working on stainless steel, they stain. We have a lot of complaints from our employees, so we purchase better quality rags. We try to use as much as possible. We did buy lower cost rags, which were just did not work well.
Okay, so again, you are saying this is not for laundering of the uniforms? None of it?
No, just kitchen. There might be that open PO.
For maintenance?
But my understanding is that that doesn't really occur anymore. Because there's no one at, the maintenance office, which is north of here, it's not really housed anymore. It's not staffed. So that's no longer really an option for our staff. And these shirts are 2 to 3 years old, which many of them are no longer wearing because they are so old.
And we turn them all in and we're done with it? Or do we just keep them on record? I know at my job, I never wear what they give me, but they pay every week for it.
Right. They're basic t-shirts. Ideally, we'd like to replace them all, just to have everyone in a uniform to identify them as they go on campus. But they're wearing it less and less just because they are basically falling apart.
I think it is a good idea that they wear a uniform because you don't want, if there's a gentleman on campus, you want to be able to identify him, like he's wearing a maintenance shirt or.
Right, that was,
You want to do, yeah.
that was the purpose of it.
Yeah, I would like to see
But
that.
they could launder them. I mean, we need to make sure we're having teachers give $100 for supplies. I'd rather give each teacher more money than to pay to launder somebody's shirt. That's my point. So that was all.
I have explored purchasing a washer and dryer to actually do it in-house.
They can be washed at home.
Well, if we ask them to wear their uniforms, we would have to provide them enough supply to wear those uniforms at school. We just can't afford to purchase that many for them to have continuously wear a new one.
That's why I thought it was a great idea when the ladies came up with a design of their own. At Tropico School has awesome shirts, and if that's what they choose to wear, that's awesome.
Well, I'm sure with $6,500 and how many maintenance people there are, you could buy them 5 shirts each. I'm sure with $6,500, that's all I'm saying. So anyway.
On a good note, I'd like to see the flipping booth fee, $26,000. I'm glad that we're getting more involved with the capturing kids' hearts. I'd like to see that. Just would like to see that grow into our campuses, at all campuses, and all teachers. And I'm not sure, is it still just administrators that are being trained, or is it? Huh?
Just
It's everybody,
It's
it's
everybody?
certificated and
Awesome.
classified.
Okay, I'm glad to hear that. I'm really happy about that. So, our kids really need that. Any questions?
Sorry. $5,600 for chain link fence. What are we fencing it? It says 10-foot chain link fence, 6-foot fence, and
That's on the north side of the West Park campus. So last year we had an incident where a couple kids did jump over the fence on that side, just because of the geography of that area that allowed them to be able to jump over. So we want to make sure that that part of the fencing is extended higher.
it's higher. And what, do I have a length of that?
I think
Is
goes
it
up-
22 feet?
Up to 10 feet high.
10 feet high, but how long?
Uh,
22 feet? And it's got 40 units at $85 a piece for hand digging. If that's right.
So 10-foot high chain link fence, 22 units of that, so that's 22 feet. And 6-foot high chain link fence at 40 feet, and that's they have to hand dig that. They can't get any equipment into that area. If you go, it's west of the main entrance. It's where that it's just short of that main playground off the street. It's that area,
On the west side of it, is that what
on
you're
the northwest side,
talking about? Northwest.
where the playground area is and where the relocatable housing units are. And the concern was, since we will have an Ascend program over there, the administrators wanted a higher fencing, just to be safe.
And again, is this our only quote?
Yeah, California Fencing is really the only company in the Antelope Valley that does fencing for schools. You need special licensing for that. And we did look for other vendors that would quote this out, but really California Fencing is the one we've used in the past, and just because they are really the only vendor that does this work out here.
And then, this is probably more for Leanne, the IXL, I see is 32,700. How often is that being used? Have we looked at the data from the IXL?
Dan will probably have more information. He is more with the IXL. That is a request from the teachers that they wanted that. So I certainly hope that they are.
Has anybody looked at it? I mean, Dan's looked at the usage? What's the usage? I just wonder, because I know sometimes we buy these programs, so I'm just curious on how much is being used.
Right. I have asked, when we were going through and, trying to pare things down, and he said that most definitely.
Yeah, Excel is actually, it's highly used.
Okay.
Yeah,
Alright.
across every grade level. We use it actually from kindergarten to 12th grade. Yeah.
I know there's programs where, like, I've been at school, say, AR, and you've got 5 teachers using it, and the rest aren't, and you're paying, $5,000 or whatever. So that's why I'm asking that question.
A lot of those programs that we did notice haven't been used.
Haven't been used at times, so,
Okay.
both math and English.
All right, very good.
We have science now too.
And I see Mystery Science as well, which is a great program for K through 5. That one's being on here as well, and that's very affordable. All right, I make a motion to approve the items A through J.
I second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
One absent. Personnel items. It says approve with correction to increase listed dollar amounts for certificated stipends based on a percentage of column 2, step 1 of certificated salary schedule. What does that mean? Okay.
All of the certificated stipends are based on the salary schedule. And it's based on column 2, step 1, which is one certain amount, it's about $48,000. And every stipend is a percentage of that. So if that particular amount goes up, if that salary goes up, then all stipends go up in relation to that because they're a percentage of that cell. However, that's not increasing from this past year to next year, so It just, by approving it, the board approves the ability for that to go up, but understanding it's not going to go up for next year unless there's a negotiated pay increase, which we all wouldn't expect to happen.
So my next question would be, has Jamie seen this from our county, from the Kern County Superintendent School?
If I can,
Yes.
this is what was explained to me by Lisa Lopez, is that when she calculated this, there is a column that is a 0 column, and then it goes from 0 column to column 1 and column 2. That the stipends should be calculated based on column 2, which is the actual column 2, not including the 0 and the 1. The 1 would then not be the second column, but the actual column 2, step 1. And I think she calculated these on the first column, column 1, step 1. So it's a minor, it's not a huge difference, but she will have to go back in and recalculate all
Well,
of
I'd like
these.
to table this and make sure that Jamie from Kern County Superintendent reads it, and if he okays it, I'm okay with it. I don't want to, and that's only because we're still under
Yeah,
Kern
it's, I
County.
mean, it's a contractual obligation. What you're
Okay.
saying is that, do you guys have a dollar amount listed in your packet?
No, there's no dollar amount.
No, there is a dollar.
Where?
So there's a dollar amount?
Yeah.
So what I'm hearing Mrs. Gaines say is that the dollar amount was miscalculated based on column 1, step 1,
Yes.
where it should have been calculated on column 2, step 1, which is what's in the contract. So they're going to recalculate it to make sure that total dollar amount is accurate. Does that sound right?
That's correct. Yeah, the percentage is listed correctly.
The percentages are correct, but
And
the
doesn't
dollar
Jamie
amount
approve
is.
it?
Yeah,
He
Jamie
approves these
still-
prior term meetings, right?
No,
Approves anything.
but he just hasn't seen this. Has he seen this information?
He probably just looked at what was on here. So
Okay, yeah, so
I
I,
was not aware that there was an incorrect calculation.
yeah, I think we still need to make him aware of any kind of changes or any corrections, or even if they're minor or not. I just feel more comfortable that since we're still under Kern County Superintendent Schools, for him to look at that. And hopefully it doesn't
Yeah,
make,
and I understand that. I
Yeah.
wouldn't object to that.
Okay.
That's reasonable. If the dollar amount isn't right,
yeah,
I would understand you want that to be right.
Yeah,
Because
and
of
if
the
there's-
contract language and the percentages, the people are going to get paid the right dollar amount in the long run, so it doesn't matter.
yeah, I just don't want to approve something that, yeah, we'll bring it back.
Okay.
Personal items, so we have a couple of hire and resignations.
We got car allowance. We got car allowance on there?
Yeah, for a food service supervisor, she takes basically anywhere between 10 to 15 trips a day. So to document all of that, take a lot of time.
Nobody else has card on us, though, right?
No.
Yeah, we probably want to look at that again. I mean, I don't want to just scratch it off. I mean, is that what you're looking at, Jim? You scratched it off.
I mean, the amount of time that's gonna take to write up the mileage claim and the amount of miles that she does drive, it's basically gonna be the same. But what's gonna end up happening is just, she's gonna spend time on that rather than her actual job.
Can I ask, why does she need to travel to multiple sites throughout the day like that?
She supervises all the sites.
Well, I understand being a supervisor, but the need to go to sites like that daily?
It's just supporting all of the sites. So each site has a food service manager,
Yeah?
and they report, and the supervisor supports those
Well, I
managers.
understand that.
So it's better, we found it's better face to face.
It'd be like if Mrs. Gaines had to go to every school 15 times a day to support the principals.
Do we sign her?
I just-
car allowance?
Yeah, I think because it says card allowance and nobody else has it, I don't have a problem with her just turning in.
Pick up the phone, email, I mean, I don't see the need to be at her level. I mean, the thing she's doing isn't a site-specific level. She's doing more district ordering. Anyway, it's something to question, because this budget, again, we can liken that to any district office position, right?
Well, so this would come straight out of Fund 13. It would be the Child Nutrition Services Fund. It wouldn't be from General Fund. And honestly, we do need a presence at the sites every day from the Food Services Department, just because things change every day in food services.
See, I've worked at many schools for 23 years, and we've had kitchen managers at the sites, and never has the kitchen not ran because the district supervisor isn't there. I've never heard of this. So then why do we need the kitchen manager?
To supervise the employees there.
See, it doesn't make sense. So anyway,
Well,
sounds like I would love to, I guess, shadow and see if this is really occurring. Not that I'm mistrusting anybody, to see that it's necessary. Because if you're overseeing all the kitchens of the district, why do you need to go visit each one? We have technology. You have a kitchen manager. So I know whoever her supervisor is, that's the question for that person.
Who is her supervisor?
That would be me.
Okay. So then that's the question for you. Because, let's see, Mrs. Gaines, have you seen a need for a supervisor of all the kitchen managers to go daily to the site to oversee the kitchen manager managing her staff?
I haven't been here since
Okay,
school's
but
been.
any school
and
you've
no,
been at.
I have
I'm
not
just
seen
saying.
that.
I'm
I've
just
not
saying.
seen that need.
Okay.
I think that, I mean, I don't have a problem with her turning in a mileage. Because the nurses do that, right? Our LVNs do that.
Yeah, if
Right.
they need to travel.
Yeah, right, they need to turn it in. I don't have a problem with that.
Nutrition also have a bus. She can drive around too.
Just, I mean,
They
it's
have
not a
their
lot of
own-
money.
they have their own
It's just
vehicle.
Because nobody else has car loans and we're gonna get one person. I mean, nobody in the district has it, so. So it's not really taking it away from her. Unless, I mean, I don't know. That's how I feel. I feel like if she does need to travel and go.
Can we table that item and have Mrs. Gaines talk, you and Mrs. Gaines talk together about this to see if you really see that's necessary? Again, because if you have a kitchen manager, the kitchen manager should be able to call, email any issues they have. I don't know there's a need for her to actually travel to sites.
Does the kitchen manager still report to the district office after hours with anything?
They usually come to the DO at 1:30.
So
So
those
those
are-
are any cash they have.
So all the managers are coming down once a day to talk to her.
Coming to
And
the
they're
district.
not getting mileage.
No.
So they're coming to the district and she's going to them, or whoever the person is?
They come in once a day at the end of the shift.
Okay.
So the model, I mean, we used to have a director of food services as well. So the model is really bare bones.
I get that. Again, I've worked at a district with 27 schools, and we've had directors over 6 schools, and to see them go to the actual site is rare. Like, I don't see the need in that. It sounds inefficient. That's all.
Well,
So, I mean, it's $110 a month. It's not like it's a huge deal, but we need to work on efficiency, and that sounds very inefficient if this person is going to sites every day and those managers are coming to the district once a day as well. So, it sounds really inefficient. So I would just task you as their supervisor to maybe find out why, because it sounds like a lot of wasted time to go to eat. It sounds like a waste of time. Why have a kitchen manager then if they have to be there at that site?
Okay, so we'll table the car allowance for that employee.
We're going to also table the stipend, you said.
Yeah, we're gonna start
Do we
the
understand
personnel
what it
items.
is?
Mhm.
So I make a motion to approve personnel items other than the car allowance and the stipends, which are tabled for another session.
I also see the hiring of our new cadet leader. Is that based on the teacher's salary? That hiring?
Once?
Yes.
That's the, like a starting teacher salary or for that position?
Is that a current teacher in the district?
We're looking at 78,400.
That's not starting.
It's not starting.
That's not, is there a reason? Is that less or more or what? I don't-
Maybe more.
That's more?
It depends on their experience.
It's probably on the education experience. It looks like they have the credits and then probably 10 years.
And that's how we do it with the union? That's
Yeah.
all acceptable?
It's on my agenda for tomorrow, was how are these, what has been decided for the starting salary of these positions?
That's what I want to make sure that we're not, yeah, what criteria we're going by.
Well,
Yeah, it's on the teacher salary.
well, it's not the salary schedule, it's the CTE salary schedule, which is something different. But it should have been based off of that. Now, for each individual, it would vary, depending on their training, their number of years of experience, whatever educational background they have. There is there's a matrix in the contract for the CTE, for CTE salaries, because those are different than a teacher's salary, because a teacher is going to have a 4-year degree and a credential. A CTE teacher may not have a 4-year degree. They may only have a 2-year degree, but 10 years worth of practical experience in that field, or 20 years of practical experience in that field. So they have a separate matrix that places them on the teacher's salary schedule at a certain spot. My question was going to be to Mrs. Gaines tomorrow, how was it determined for the new hires where they're being placed? I don't have a problem with whatever the district's deciding. I just wanted to ensure what they were deciding was correct and accurate.
Well, my question is, the cadet corps teachers, are they new teachers to the district?
No, this one isn't.
No,
Wallace
he's not.
isn't.
No,
He's been there.
we do not currently have one for Tropical.
You don't have one for Tropical?
So Wallace is a teacher in the district. Would he stay at his salary schedule?
Is he a
Where he-
credential teacher?
It looks like he's also in the waiver,
I don't, yeah.
EL waiver.
I'm
Down at the,
not sure what the status is.
He's not a current teacher.
He's not a current.
I mean, what just caught my attention was everybody's at 44,000 and the new teacher here comes at 78. So I wanted to find out what the difference
He
is.
was in the
Oh,
past.
7? I know he was in the past though.
Yeah, he was a teacher in the past.
Yeah, and so now
It's been a
he's,
few years.
oh, okay. What is the CCSD? It says waiver CCSD. Do you know what that is?
Yeah, I know he has that.
It's right here.
Mr.
It's on
Riley
page 4.
said he knew someone.
It's right
I'm
at
assuming
the,
this is the person he knew.
where you do those separate.
I mean, I think he's a good pick. I just want to make sure that we're fair with the rest of the teachers.
It's that waiver, CCSD. Is that the EL waiver?
Maybe that has something to do with cadet corps.
Has to what?
Maybe it has something to do with a cadet corps thing, because he's going to training.
Well, okay, yeah, I know, but it has EL waiver on the side, so I think that they have to, when they're working with the students, they have to be credentialed or have a certificate, the EL, so they're waiving it.
So again, I think I want to put some of that stuff on table too until you guys talk about it a little bit and determine how we're doing this. And make sure we're doing it fair.
It was my understanding, that a current teacher would get training and then take that position.
He's going for training, right?
Yeah.
I believe it's next week.
Yeah.
Right.
So we need to,
If he's going next week.
we need to
I thought we had 2 of them on the list already.
No, just one. We don't have a tropical one.
Up until then.
Do we have a tropical?
We thought we had 2 candidates, but one candidate was not interested. So we just have the one right now.
So we posted it,
Yes.
and we need that filled before tropical is started here, right?
We certainly hope so.
Where are you seeing that that salary is $78,000?
It's on page 3.
On page 3.
Well, I don't get those
Oh.
pages.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Isn't there one up there?
Well,
The agenda?
it's the agenda. I have the agenda,
Um,
but it says Charles Wallace, cadet corps teacher, right?
Right.
But where does it list his salary?
Where's his salary there, like?
Turn the page
Is
over.
there not a column on yours?
Yeah, there's a
See
column.
mine?
On page 3.
Page
No, no,
3.
yeah, wait. Yeah.
There's a column, date, salary.
Salary.
Certificated employees, resignations. Certificated employees, hiring.
I think we gave you the one just to confuse you.
I'm easily confused. Oh, sorry.
Okay.
Column 6, step 10.
Column 6, yeah, step 10.
Like I say, that was on my agenda to just ask Mrs. Gaines about tomorrow. I was curious as to what the initial placement was. I'm not saying that that's not the appropriate
Who did the
placement.
hiring for this teacher? Who did the interviewing and hiring?
HR did. I did
I
not.
mean, he's on campus, he's been
Well-
telling me he's a great choice.
I am sure that they looked at the experience and to come up with this. They're not just
I'm
gonna
sure.
pull it out.
And I
so,
personally know.
Yeah,
It just caught my attention, all
Yeah.
these other teachers than his. I
Right.
want to make sure we're fair and that,
It's just, the CTE is just treated differently.
Okay.
Experience counts as, every year you have experience counts.
and he's got a lot
So
there.
if you had military experience, that counts towards moving up on the salary schedule.
Okay.
Like Larson, he's an RN, and he has practical experience in the field, so that counts towards his more higher up in the stuff. So that's how they're placed, basically.
Okay.
And it's verifiable, they have to verify it, we don't take their word for it.
And it says column
Second on
6,
that.
step 10.
I got a second on it.
okay.
I second.
Okay, so.
Yes, that's what it says.
Some personnel items, Brandts makes the motion,
But we're still going to go ahead and look at that, right? Mrs.
Yes,
and
yes.
second by Bender. All in favor?
I
One absent. Business and operations. Ms. Gaines and Mr. Arik. Appointment of labor negotiators.
Basically, this is just appointing Ms. Gaines and myself as negotiators for the district when we do go to negotiation.
I approve it.
Okay, motion by Bender. Second,
Oh, the negotiators, yes.
Brandts.
second.
Please
Second by
negotiate
Brandts.
away.
All in favor?
Aye.
One absent. Curriculum and instruction. Ohio Department of Education Alternative School. Program of choice.
The air conditioning.
Annual report, Ms. Gaines.
Yes, this is, the actual report is in your packet. This is an annual report required by LEAs for any alternative school. And in the report, Mr. Torres updated basically the state superintendent on CASP scores for the past 3 years for Abraham Lincoln. Also, he talks about some of the barriers to why they're not doing better, the constant mobility of the students at Abe Lincoln, It's primarily a paper and pencil curriculum at that site. This report is, he also has identified several successes. The scores are increasing at Lincoln, and the report is due August 1st. I did see the report. I made a few suggestions to Mr. Torres. I proofread the report, sent it back to him. He corrected or made the changes that I suggested be made before we presented it to you for board approval. So if it's board approved, then it'll be sent to California Department of Education. At that time, the state superintendent will then turn it over to a member of his staff to review.
Now, how come many of these, like the 17, 18, there's no scores? Is that because it was less than a certain number or no? It's all over the place,
Oh, okay.
so I just see a lot. Like I might see the 15, 16 or 16, 17. Okay, where's an example? I just saw one. Like for instance, grade 11 on page 50, you've got the 16, 17 overall achievement for all students, and then there's no 17, 18 score. So I just see that in like a few places. Yeah. So is that because, I just wonder why that is.
Anywhere where there's a star, that means we're enough.
Where enough students, okay, that's what I kind of figured. Do you know what that would be, that threshold is?
It's pretty low, but of course, we don't have too many, and that's one of our issues, we don't have too many within that grade level. I want to say it's like 100 students, and we certainly don't have students.
All right, so then it's really hard to compare the data.
Right.
All right.
Did you say the school was pencil and paper still?
Yes, that's.
Why don't we have computers in
Well, I think that I'm just gonna say what I feel here in talking to Mr. Torres and also to Dan, that Abe Lincoln has received some finances in the amount of about $170,000 that they have a year to spend. Now, I'm not exactly sure what are the guidelines of what can and cannot be purchased. I know that curriculum cannot be purchased, but there could be some allotment there for technology. So, and the bad thing about any time you have pencil and paper curriculum, it is very subjective. You know, you're pretty much at the teacher's discrepancy, and so there's no consistency in what the students might be receiving from. It may or may not be standards-based, although we're hoping that it is standards-based, but that it depends on how good the teacher is.
I'm kind of confused, because I mean, aren't they using the same curriculum at the high school?
I thought they were.
They are. I was told that they
Okay.
are using the same curriculum, but Mr. Torres told me that it's at Abe Lincoln, it's primarily paper and pencil.
Okay, and something's wrong with that?
Well, there's not necessarily anything wrong with it, Dr. Brandts, but there is some subjectivity there.
Okay.
It's, you know, any time that, you know, the teacher, there's a question there maybe on the level of rigor.
Okay.
And that, you know, it depends from teacher to teacher, and that could be an issue.
Okay.
So I would not, I don't understand why they don't have the technology there, especially being an
But even
independent
with
study program.
technology, you would still have discrepancy between teachers regardless if it's paper or pencil or technology. So I don't understand why that's a factor, that's all.
You could, but since the curriculum is being presented with the technology, I would think that at least the presentation that the student is getting on the curriculum would be pretty uniform. The assignment might vary a little bit, or the expectation of the teacher might be subjective, but I think the actual curriculum would be the same. So, and I'm not really sure exactly what that deeper intensive curriculum looks like. So I have to look into that.
I'd like to make sure it is the same as the high school.
Well, I was told it is the same.
Yeah, I know the independent study program was not. That would be something to look at, because I know that was not a few years ago. My son was doing that, so that would be something to look at.
And I don't know, Leanne, if you want to jump in here. I don't know if this new curriculum, that there could be some new curriculum that was recently purchased for this next year. It might be more.
It seems like we just need to make sure whatever the high school is using, the alternative school, the independent school, they should all be using that curriculum regardless. So, I mean, I think that needs to be uniform across the district. So
I totally agree. It tends to be very subjective among people. They are gonna have a CELUS at Rare Earth. I've kind of been pushing for them to also do a CELUS at Abraham Lincoln, because we do have some additional laptops that we can give to those students. I know there was a little hesitation with wanting them to do that because they were concerned that not all of them maybe have internet at home, but that certainly would help in the uniformity of, we're all doing the same types of courses, we're all have the same rigor. It's not like I have to leave Roseman High School because I need to go over here because it's a little easier. So certainly that has been a struggle, but something that we're definitely working on.
I thought we got that CELUS that's new this year.
Yeah, it'll be new for the school.
It's just starting.
Yeah, right. So
And
we're
that's
kind of
a-
heading that way, so.
Yeah, and we've talked about doing that 6th grade through 12th grade, because it has the capability, I believe it goes down to 4th grade. So that would really would be a benefit.
Okay, make a motion to approve the.
No,
No?
we don't need to.
Oh.
We're just
Oh,
here.
it's informational.
informational.
Okay.
Now we're at the quarterly reports on the Williams uniform complaints under Educational Code 35186. Ms. Harkis?
And we have not had any Williams complaints.
No Williams complaint. Approved revision to June 12, 2019 submission of the local control and accountability plan federal addendum for Title I only.
Right, so on June 12th, I had given you the federal addendum, and it had Title I, Title II, Title III, and Title IV, and there was a description for each of those. So once you take it off of that format, then you had to take it and then you had to copy and paste into a form that was submitted, and then so they'll go through each of those, and they'll say, okay, well, we would like for you to add, this piece, this piece. So I did go ahead and do that. So it was a little confusing because it wouldn't let me just print it out for you because it would cut it off. So that's why hopefully it was not too confusing to be able to find, here's what was added and this was, on this page, but it was cut off. Did that all make sense?
Yeah,
Where you could find it?
I think the original one, I think the Title I was omitted on there, and all the other title programs. Is that what it was?
No, it was on there. They just go through. So they send it to each title office.
Right.
And so this is just the first part of Title I. So then there's a Title I. So this is Title 1A. So the next section was Title 1A, educator equity.
Right.
So once you get that piece approved, then it's the other pieces are in review of those offices. So the Title II office has, is looking at that portion. Title III office, and then the Title IV office as well. So they're approving it at the CDE at different levels.
And so this is addendum to
So yeah,
Title
so
I.
then they send it back and they say, okay, well, we'd like for you to add these pieces, or there was a couple of them where they just we didn't have, it talked about preschool. Well, we didn't have preschool, but they wanted you to call it out. So they said, well, if you don't have this program, put NA in this box. So that's what you do. So it's, kind of jumping through the little hoops to say, this is exactly how we want it to look and how we want you to do this. So yeah, so I tried to make it as easy to follow along because I realized when I printed it out that it cut pieces off.
And so are those revisions in there?
Right, so the revisions are, so kind of what I did was, so this was a piece on, so over here. So here's kind of what it looked like as you would see it on the computer.
Mm-hmm.
But when I went to print it out, I realized that it was cutting it off. So you can't really, I'm looking for one that has a box that it didn't. Okay, so if you look on page 3 of 12, so you can see the box where I added it, but then at the bottom it cut pieces off. So then what I did was, I just, in a Word document, I just copied and pasted it, and I put 3 of 12, so that way you'd be able to read it and you'd be able to see it in its entirety. So there was a few of those that I did that too.
Oh, so you have like page 5 of 12 and then 7 of 12.
Right, and so
Okay,
then you
gotcha.
would just have to go to this where it says 5 of 12, and then you would just, yeah, okay, that's what it is.
Make motion to approve the revision for the local control and accountability plan federal addendum. Second by
Brandts.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
One absent. Approve the attendance policy for participation in the end of the year activities effective 2019-2020 school year, applicable to all 8th grade promotions and all 12th grade graduation students. Ms. Harkins?
So last week we reviewed our attendance data with our 8-to-8 program, and our attendance was, 12th grade was our worst grade level for attendance. So, we came up with a plan as to what we think would, help those students, make sure that they're at school. Really, there's a lot of activities at 8th grade with promotion, and then at 12th grade, so we thought, okay, well, let's target those 2 grade levels first. So what they're going to need to do is, and this is going to be in effect for Abraham Lincoln, Rare Earth, Risman High School, and Tropico Middle School, no more than 14 days of absence, which gives them about 92%. And that is if they want to participate in the graduation, the promotion, and the end of the year activities. And then it talks a little bit about tardies, 3 tardies of 30 minutes or more equals a day of absence. 3 tardies of less than 30 minutes equals 1 period of absence. And then they have to have those absences cleared within 3 days. So a lot of it is still very similar to what we have done. It just puts a little bit more teeth in it to say, hey, you know what? If you have less than 92% attendance, you're not going to be able to participate in those fun activities towards the end of the school year.
So can you explain the number 2 about the doctor's appointments and court subpoenas and all that?
Right, so we're, and really an absence, excuse, unexcused, we want this to be an attendance policy versus an absence policy. Excused absence are doctor's appointments. If you have to go to court, a funeral of an immediate family member.
Is an excused absence.
Those are excused absences.
I would suggest that instead of it saying a funeral, because not all people do funerals, but I would say death of a family member, and kind of like we do usually a death of a family member within California, 3 days, out of state, 5 days. I think it should be specified.
Okay.
And again, I think death instead of funeral would be more appropriate for people who don't necessarily have a formal funeral, in my opinion.
So do these absences count against their percentage? If there are these excused absences?
They would.
They would.
With the following exceptions, so no.
These
Number
ones will
2.
not count.
It is my understanding that even excused, those would count.
So then the wording, to me, when I read it, it says this is not an excused or unexcused policy, but then the type of absence does not matter with the following exceptions. So if it's A, B, or C, because otherwise, why even have that?
Right. It's unclear to me too.
Let me ask you a question. The school gets paid for excused absence?
We do not.
No, we don't?
If he's not in the seat, we don't get paid.
Okay.
Not years ago.
So this is unclear.
Okay.
Do you have an issue with the seniors?
I don't think we can hold them
They
accountable
were
for
the lowest attendance percentage.
Is that right, the seniors?
Yes.
We have horrible.
Oh,
It was not good.
And then again, we go back to the whole issue as well as the attendance. I think I saw some things, are we going back to school-based attendance, or is it still centralized at the district office?
School-based, the high school in Tropico.
The high school
Okay.
tropical
Okay.
is going back.
All right, good, because I know that was an issue, so, all right.
And those two schools, well, all the schools, but especially those two schools, we're gonna require them to do attendance every period. It has to be done.
Mhm,
It must be done
Okay.
during school.
All right. And that's gonna be an obstacle.
Shouldn't be. It's a quick procedure.
When I was subbing, we always had to do attendance every period, every single period. So it's already been a policy.
Well, policy and being done are two different things. I know when I visited the high school one day, the clerk showed me how many teachers submitted for that period and how many didn't. And there was more that didn't that did. So I guess that'll be something that the middle school and high school administrators will have to make sure they're on their teachers. I know Mrs. Acanini is going to do a fine job with that.
Okay, so do I hear a motion for the approved attendance policy?
I still think we need to clear
No, I
that
think
up.
it needs to be revised. There's
Yeah.
some questions.
Okay, so we'll table.
We'll clarify and bring it back.
Okay.
So if I understand it, the excused absences will even go against the 92%.
That's how it's
Absolutely.
reading.
Yeah.
They should.
And it's that way anyways with all the students, right?
Absolutely.
Right, that's the policy. I'm just stressing it. for the-
Yeah, they start getting excessive excused absences at 14 letters. I mean, at 14 days.
But I think it would be confusing, if I'm a parent and I'm reading this, then why even have why even have it on here? Because then I'm saying, okay, doctor's got a funeral, okay. I mean, why have it on here?
I
So-
think what this should read, Dr. Brandts, or how this should read is that I think the state will, if you look up attendance procedures in the state of California, there are only 3 ways that a child could be excused for an absence. That's with a doctor's
Yeah.
note, just telling us you've been to the doctor doesn't fly. A subpoena to court with the subpoena, and the death of an immediate family member. Those are the only 3 excused.
So maybe something needs to be on here about truancy, because then so many unexcused are truant, and I know if it's so many truancies, so I mean, I don't know.
Well, I
I'm
think-
just a suggestion.
I think that's on the annual report, annual parent packet, where it tells you how many
Right.
absence. Yeah, that goes out on the
I know,
first
but
day.
for the policy, because,
Well, for the policy, I think it's targeted just for the 8th and 12th grade.
yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
it's just
Yeah.
for graduation ceremonies and end of the year stuff.
I'm out of order, but can I interject? I read it the way you do, that those 3 areas do not count against your 14 days. I think you need to keep those in there. It is not an attendance policy where there is no distinguishing, there is nothing that distinguishes excused or unexcused in terms of ADA.
Right.
And that's the way it's been written. It's been written to say this is not, this is an attendance policy, not excused or unexcused. But to hold a student accountable to those 14 days when they might have been out for 10 days for a serious illness with a doctor's note, and then 4 other days, and now you do not get to participate in graduation, is severe. So I read it the way you did. It was very simple and clear to me. You get 14 days of absence towards your being able to participate in these special activities. What does not count against those 14 days are those 3 issues, redefining the funeral to a death of an immediate family member, but then you got to define what is an immediate family member. And I agree with the 3 days and the 5 days. I really like this policy. I would love to see it put in place. I've asked for years to have a a retention policy based on attendance that other districts have, but we don't. But that's never been put in place. At least this is step 1.
Using these absences, because right now the truancy rate looks very high. So if we make it sound, and to go off what you were saying, sir, too, if they, right now the way it's written, no matter what, it's against you. And it shouldn't be that way. And then also at the school site level, if we're trying to target our chronic attendance kids, we need to understand if they're excused or unexcused. If we want to move forward towards SARB or SARB, I need to understand who is excused and who's unexcused, because the unexcused is the truancy. Now, there's always some kids who, and the parents who will write, or they have a doctor friend who will write a note for any little thing, and some of those things are hard to control. However, overall, if we have the kids trying to, and the parents trying to excuse the absences, isn't that what we're looking for? Is that what we're trying to get at?
I don't think it's a thing of a parent excusing the absences, because parents can pick up the phone and excuse Johnny for when Johnny was just at home doing basically nothing. I know that the gentleman from A2A, the attendance, the organization that monitors our attendance, I asked the question specifically the other day, do these 3 count against the child's attendance record? And he said, absolutely they do. They also, when we talk about our other former district, they give 10 days. These 3 count against that 10 days. It's just a difference of being able to say, these are excused. These are the 3 criteria to have an excuse. When parents don't call in or you don't have a doctor's note, it's unexcused. And so that would be the difference. And we felt that we went a little bit above and beyond by giving the child 14 days, whether they're excused or unexcused. Anything over 14 days, that's a lot of absences. And that's more than 1 day a month.
And then you go into even short-term independent study, which hasn't been done. So again, if you're going to say 14 days, then that may be something that needs to be looked at as well as a short-term independent study, 5 days up to 3 weeks. Because again, if I have, so anyway, that would be an issue as well. So currently, I believe it hasn't changed. You have to be absent for a month or more to be on independent study, and you're told get the work from your teacher up to a month, and you're still absent. So the short-term independent study needs to be looked at, I believe, especially with something like this. So.
But if that serious illness counts against your 14 days, that cancer student who we had would not be allowed to participate in promotion or graduation, even if they've met the requirements for promotion. That's severe, and you just need to.
You have to understand
if you're going to approve it, you need to be ready to listen to that parent who's going to come to you saying, "This is ridiculous." I'm very much for the policy, but I think I think this policy is for end of the year activities.
Yes, that's exactly.
And because it's for end of the year activities, you need to make that, I would recommend you make that delineation between what we would look at as excused or unexcused based on those three
We're not
items.
talking about
And
we're
promotion
talking about
ceremonies,
graduation.
not
Yeah,
just
it's-
activities,
No,
but and.
it's promotion.
I know, I'm saying both.
It's
It's
promotion
both.
and graduation. Those-
Yeah, it's both,
if-
yeah.
If I've got cancer and I'm going to chemo and I can't go to class once a week, but yet I meet all the requirements of graduation from high school, but I can't go through the graduation ceremony, that's brutal.
However, that student, if
that
they
would-
are in long-term hospital care,
Would
they would have a home hospital teacher.
Yeah, they would be at home hospital.
But our student was attending class.
I would still say we need these on here, just in case something like that does happen. I mean, I would
As a-
really feel
as-
bad
with the exception
to
of-
let some student not graduate because she had 2 family members die right at the end of the year or something, and she had to take off another extra 5 days and put her out of the requirement.
The parent calling saying Johnny was sick is not
No.
acceptable.
Well, this says with the
parent
note,
coming with
so-
a doctor's
yeah.
note,
Doctor's note,
that's gonna
funerals.
clean
So
up.
can we
a
put
lot.
something in it that says, the administrator can
Discretion.
waive this at his discretion for extreme hardship or something?
I
Can of
don't
worms.
think that would be a good idea. I think it needs to be, because then,
You just
then
have- you
why
gotta
did you
wait.
let that child and not that child?
You don't
Then
have
now
one.
it's on the administrator, and as an administrator, I wouldn't want that, because then, that you're putting them in a hard spot.
I just really believe that it's great 14 days, but let's leave these 3 in there. That doesn't count.
Did you have something, Mrs. McEnany?
I was just gonna wonder if there could be some other governing body, like maybe if it's something like you said, sir, about, somebody being very ill. Maybe it's something that goes to the board or goes to somebody
Yeah.
for review.
They have a special
and
circumstance on
special
file,
circumstances,
or a
health,
petition for a
That would be
special
a
circumstance.
family,
Yeah,
because there's a lot of
something.
stuff, and
Maybe a
then maybe it
petition
should be brought to the board.
Or
For
just
special
a
circumstance.
simple disclaimer there that a special circumstance would be,
That would
Yeah.
do it.
we're
There
not
you
here
go.
to keep children out of promotion and graduation. We want them there.
Right.
But when we saw our attendance, especially the senior class at Roseman High School, I think he said, it's one of the worst he's ever seen.
There's no
And he does,
consequences. so-
and he does a lot of districts, and the worst in the Antelope Valley, the worst. Yes.
And even like the special circumstance, you can even think of our foster children. If a child is taken out of the home, it could be temporary, a week or 2, then they get back to the parent. Now the kid's got, 3 weeks absences, and now we're gonna penalize them. So, yeah, I think that would be good. Maybe, I would say some type of a petition, I would have a process for that special circumstance.
Right of appeal.
Yeah, something like that. And maybe there could be, if need be, put together a committee that would look at it or something. Or Mrs. Gaines can figure it out.
Oh, you can bring it to a vote of the board, that's cool. We're all softies.
Because initially this was, this document started with Mr. Riley, I think, and a team at the high school, and then Leanne and I sort of tweaked it a little bit, and after listening to the A2A attendance gentleman do his presentation and show us all the attendance data, and so then Leanne came back and she goes, you know what, Tropico's having issues too. We need to include Tropico, that 8th grade promotion, in on this. And so I said, talk to Nat and see what he thinks, and Nat was very much on board with including Tropico in this because everybody can improve their attendance. And so, yeah, we'll go back and.
I don't think there's gonna be that many special circumstances. Most
Yeah.
people are gonna fit cleanly in this, but we.
Once they
there
know
are
there's a
some.
policy, then they might straighten up a little bit. I
We
mean, I think
that
if
it
seniors
will.
are seniors and they figured if they could take off, they're gonna take off.
Our goal was to get it on the website, that front page of the website as soon as possible. But, we can bring it back on the 7th and get it up in plenty of time for parents to know about it. So, you tabling it?
Yes.
Okay.
I make a motion, we adjourn.
Oh,
Oh,
couple things,
okay.
sorry.
Okay.
Sorry. We started off earlier and we talked about a couple things I want to write down because, can you explain the lead away to me a little bit?
Project Lead the Way?
Yeah, what is that?
Project Lead the Way. Well, Project Lead the Way is, it's a STEM program, science, technology, engineering, and math. I think it originated in Cal Poly Pomona, very engineering based. It is not, let me say, it is not, nor should it ever be used in lieu of good science curriculum. It's more like an elective class. Project Lead the Way is. Teachers go through a lot of training. It's very rigorous for teachers. Sometimes when they go to these different universities that are offering this training, it's not just offered at Cal Poly Pomona. Sometimes they go to Chico or to San Diego. There's different universities that, because there are so many teachers across the nation now training in Project Lead the Way. They will sometimes do the work that they're required during that training up to 10, 11 midnight. It's very rigorous for teachers. Teachers who are trained in Project Lead the Way, it's quite an accomplishment. And so it's a great elective class for middle school and high school students. Really focuses on collaboration and getting them to plan, and it's very hands-on, and they do different things. There's different types. There's like detective, what do they call that one program, where they like examine like blood and certain things. Yes, there's robotics, design and modeling is one of them. There's like 4 to 6 different classes that you can offer in Project Lead the Way. And it's
They
a
had
great
it at
program.
the elementary schools, which I observed.
Yes, the
there.
elementary, I forget what that,
It was pulled
Launch
out
is
one day a
elementary.
week for,
Launch
For gate students?
Launch is elementary, but
no, just all students.
yes, you would
When?
want to expose as many children as you could to it because they really enjoy it. It's a great program.
You know, they did things like made sundials and
I did not
all
know
kinds of
that.
stuff.
It's not at the middle school, I saw it in
Yeah,
So it's kind of the elementary schools.
apparently.
There were
These
two
programs were,
teachers, one at each elementary school, and it was cut 2 years ago.
many of the elementary was cut 2 years ago.
Yeah, there was one teacher at each school full-time for Project
Okay.
Lead the Way.
I'm not sure why. If we had, the most expensive part of Project Lead the Way is the teacher training and the equipment to really run the classroom. So if we had the teacher and the equipment, I can't imagine necessarily why we cut the program at the elementary. But that's pre-Barbara. I'll look into that as well.
Can you look into that?
Yes, sir. I'll look
And
into
then
that.
you also mentioned Read 180. The program's still going, but we limited teachers or?
No, what happened was in January when that budget committee went around to the different school sites, it was decided by the 2 elementary school sites that that was how they wanted to spend their Title I money.
Okay.
Because the teacher was paid out of Title I money. So it was their decision to do that and their choice. So that was
And that came from the school sites
the school
themselves.
sites.
They got rid of it.
No, they didn't get rid of it. They decided that they were going to do it within, so they'll have a few 5th grade teachers do it and they'll have a few 4th grade teachers that do it.
Yeah, but, so I'm just wondering about the whole middle school, ELs only getting Read 180, is that true?
No, they do not, they use ILIT in their, Read 180 is not used for EL students.
Okay, all right.
Well, and the reason,
It's not an EL curriculum.
Okay.
Okay, we'll check into that a little bit.
and we just recently, past week, purchased a curriculum for the designated ELD classes at the high school. We anticipate, Noemi looked at the numbers, and we anticipate the need for 2 ELD classes at Roseman High School. And so those have been placed on the master schedule, and we will get the licenses for that curriculum before the start of the school year.
Okay.
Yes, yes, and that is a state mandate that there needs to be ELD at the middle school and at the high school. We have to offer those students a dual offering of language arts. One to build their language skills, and one to give them a core, what all the other children in that grade level get. So we're addressing that need.
And I'm still with Mr. Quillman about the PE teacher. If there's any way our
Me too.
negotiators can negotiate that, let's try to see what we can do with that. That's up to you, negotiators. I make a
You made the motion.
Oh,
You
I
have to-
second it.
You
No,
have
she
to
made the
second.
motion.
I'll second it.
Brandts made the motion. You second it, Brenda?
Yes, sir.
All
Yes,
in
ma'am.
favor?
Aye.
One absent.